Hi everyone, Doug and Julie here with our 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-e electric vehicle. In this video, I wanted to share our experiences during our 2024 road trip from Portland, Oregon to Copperopolis, California, and back. This is the third time in as many years making this trip, but what stands out about this year is we now have access to the Tesla supercharging network. Most of it. We were expecting this to make this year's trip a lot easier, or at least a lot more comfortable. And spoiler alert, that's exactly what happened. This is the first EV road trip that felt normal, where we could just get in the car and go, and easily make changes on the fly if needed. What a difference. Of course, being the planner I am, I did take some time before the trip to study all the Tesla supercharger locations on the way. Once we get out of the Portland area, there are 8 charging options in Oregon alone, and another 12 to 15 options in California, depending on our route. But the biggest reason for doing this is I wanted to find Tesla locations with 12 or more superchargers. You may know that when it comes to parking at Tesla superchargers, our Mach-e doesn't really fit in with how Tesla designed their stations. For more detail on that, check out episode 12 of the Mach-e files. But long story short, we have to take up 2 spots to charge our one car. For the most part, this hasn't caused any real headaches, but we don't want to be that guy who rolls into a busy location and blocks anyone else from charging. My thinking was locations with 12 or more chargers are less likely to be too busy. As luck would have it, I found 15 such locations on our route, including one with 44 chargers and another with 51. These all got priority in the planning. In our past videos, I laid out our trip in chronological order, highlighting any problems or challenges we had at each stop. But I think doing that for this video might be a little boring because at every one of our stops, we pulled up, plugged in, and the car started charging, working perfectly every time. So instead, I thought I'd give you an overview of our trip by the numbers, then share any interesting things of note, and then go through all of our stops at the end for those still interested. I'll even give a score out of 10 rating for each location. So here are the numbers. The drive from our house in Beaverton to my brother's house in Copperopolis is 668 miles driveway to driveway. With another 94 miles driving around while in California, overall we drove 1,430 miles in 4 days. On the trip down, we started in 49-degree temps, but saw 101 later in Northern California. On the trip home, the temps were more consistent in the low to mid-70s, albeit with a bit more wind. Each trip took 13 hours, almost to the minute. We made 7 stops for fast charging, 4 on the way down and 3 on the way home, as well as 2 chargers at my brother's house in Copper. 6 of the fast charging stops were at Tesla superchargers, while 1 was at an Electrify America location. Our lowest battery percentage on arrival was 10%, but on average we arrived with 32% and left with 86%, adding an average of 48 kilowatt-hour per stop. Our fast charging stops range from 20 to 49 minutes, with the average being 31 minutes. We could have optimized our stops to bring that average down, but we took a more relaxed approach to this trip overall. We spent $167.69 on fast charging, an average of $27.95 per stop. Tesla and Electrify America prices were comparable, with Oregon prices at 57 cents per kilowatt hour and California's at 60 cents per kilowatt hour. While the charging aspects of our stops was pretty boring, we did have some interesting things to note. For example, at almost every Tesla location, we had nice conversations with curious EV owners on how we were able to charge at these stations. Overall, we found the Tesla owners to be perfectly happy to see an outsider charging at their superchargers. I'm sure the fact that we were stopped at locations with many chargers helped, but even at one of the smaller, more crowded locations, a nice Model 3 owner came to check on us, even offering any help if needed. Not all of the EV owners we chatted with were Tesla owners. We ran into a Ford Lightning owner who couldn't figure out why his adapter wouldn't work. Turns out he had a Level 2 adapter and not a NACS to CCS adapter. We were happy to show and tell our adapter saga to help him out. At another location, I shared my list of bigger supercharger locations with a fellow Mach-e owner as they were also on a long road trip down I-5. Just more proof that the EV community is a positive one overall. We certainly want to help whenever we can. We did have one very minor confrontation in Dunnigan, California. Julie had just backed into a spot when a Model S owner pulled in next to us before we could get out and get plugged in. Julie and I had to get her attention to let her know that we would be using the supercharger that she wanted to use. But fortunately, all we got from her was a grumpy look before she backed out and into another spot. Could have been a rumble. On the way down, when stopping at Tesla Superchargers, we used the official Ford/Tesla adapter. But on the way home, we switched to the Electron adapter. Neither is hard to use, but Julie and I both felt the Electron was a little easier, especially when disconnecting. On the way down, the official Ford/Tesla adapter got hot to the touch a couple of times, but we're confident that had more to do with high ambient temperatures than overheating electronics.
Hot.
Yeah,
That's hot.
it got hot at the last station.
At my brother's house, I got to try our Electron Tesla to J1772 Level 2 charging adapter for the first time. Not surprisingly, it worked great, charging our car at 7 kilowatts, just 1 kilowatt less than what we get at home with our Grizzle E. We used Ford's Blue Cruise quite a bit, and overall it worked well, but we were a bit surprised how frequently it would cancel itself, and more than once it seemed more problematic than worth it, so we just switched it off and stuck with the regular adaptive cruise. We should note that we have not received the big update that has supposedly improved Blue Cruise quite a bit. Ford has dropped the price of Blue Cruise subscriptions, but when our free one runs out next month, we won't renew. Our GOM accuracy was all over the board. I can really see how it could confuse a new owner taking their first road trip. But with our experience, both with the Mach-e and with this trip, we were more comfortable pushing our range and didn't panic when, for example, the GOM told us we didn't have enough battery to get us to the next stop and wanted us to add a charge. In this case, we were going up one of the many elevation gains through Northern California and Southern Oregon, which sent the Mach-e into a bit of a panic. Once we were on the downhill side, our range came back. This trip was the first where I spent a fair amount of time in the back seat. There's plenty of space back there, but I wouldn't call it the most comfortable I've been. It might have had something to do with the heat we were traveling in. I will say that sunshade was a good investment, maybe the best $46 I've spent on this car. We saw 2 instances of icing, where an internal combustion engine car is parked in an EV charging station, but in both cases almost no EVs were there wanting to charge, so no real damage was done. In one case, I'm not even sure they understood they were parked in an EV charging spot. During our 2 days in and around Copperopolis, we spent time in Groveland and Murphy's and had a nice lunch in Lodi. We also toured the Frog's Tooth Winery, where my sister-in-law is the head winemaker. One cool EV-related stop was checking out the brand new Rivian charging outpost in Groveland. For now, it's only open to Rivian owners, but that should change in the near future. Much more than just a bank of chargers, it's a very cool model for future EV charging locations. And speaking of charging locations, let's go over our route and our charging stops. In the interest of learning more, we tried to hit different locations on the way down from on the way back, and different than any of our other trips, with just one exception. Once out of Portland, it's pretty much a straight shot down I-5 to Stockton, where we make a big left turn on California 4 to Copperopolis. We know we could make this trip in 3 charging stops, but this time we had a VIP passenger. My mom had flown in from Michigan a few days earlier, so we thought it better to just plan on 4 stops. I knew where our first stop would be and had a general idea on the rest, but again, with the many more options the Tesla locations provide, we felt comfortable making final decisions as we traveled. Our actual first stop was a rest area just north of Eugene, but our first charging stop was in Sutherlin, Oregon, 170 miles from our home. We've made a number of stops there, mostly successful, but at the Electrify America chargers by the Dairy Queen just off the highway. This year, we got to try out the 51-stall Tesla Superstation just a little further down the way, our first official use of the Supercharger network. Of all the times we've stopped here, we've never seen this location busy, which made it ideal as we had plenty of open spots to choose from that wouldn't block anyone else. There is a Starbucks right next door, as well as a Taco Bell, the aforementioned Dairy Queen, and even a pizza place if you're really hungry. This is a great place to stop, and I highly recommend it. I would rate it a 9 out of 10, with the only reason I would dock at the 1 point is there is no sidewalk or steps to get from the Tesla chargers to the Starbucks, just a dirt path. We were there on a beautiful fall day, but if we had stopped on a rainy day, this could have been a bit hazardous, especially for anyone with limited mobility like my 86-year-young mother. We pulled up, plugged in, and got charging without any issues. Although I want to play this video all the way through, as this is Julie's first time using an adapter and there's a little lesson here.
What's that? Adapter.
Come on over here, Mom.
Okay. It's all Greek to me.
Well, so the Tesla plug is different than the Ford plug.
Okay, gotcha.
So she's got an adapter.
An adapter.
I'm going to stand over here.
Do I have to start anything first?
No, just go ahead and plug that into the adapter.
Ah,
Can you make sense of it?
yeah. Oh yeah, I see. And then plug it in.
And it's secured. And then she'll plug that into the car. Did I give you enough room?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. And then what's that? It's telling you.
Something's not fully connected.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. You know what it was, babe? Okay, so if that's not pulling out, it's not that. So go ahead and just stick the whole thing in there. Don't lift, don't touch the button on the top.
Okay.
There. There. We heard it?
It made a noise this time.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's
Got
not.
blue?
That, I think that's blue. I can't see because of the sun.
Right. And it's so low. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I can't see that. There it is.
There it is.
There.
Ta-da!
Now it's blue.
Yeah.
Ta-da! There you go. Thank you, Julie.
Yep, that was it. I didn't get it didn't make the noise when
Yeah.
I pushed it in.
See, when this, if we hit this button and release this, that will shut off all the charging.
Gotcha.
And that's why when you had it up to go in,
Okay.
it was not, yeah. So now it's making noise, yeah. So we're charging. Cool.
That's something.
We saw a peak of 158 kilowatts, so speeds were on par with the fastest charges we've had. We ended up charging to 88% as we were just enjoying the morning, including conversing with the Model S owner about our Mach-e. Yeah, so push the button and then release the big trigger. There you go. And then it's a two-hand.
Yep. For the little thing underneath. There it
Yeah, there you go.
Gotcha.
is. Ta-da!
There you go. Ta-da!
It's pretty smooth.
And then flip that back up. We'll just keep that in the car now. We won't leave it in the trunk,
Yep, that's fine.
the frunk.
Okay.
Our next stop was just 109 miles away in Medford, Oregon. We could have gone a lot further, but since our first stop had coffee and breakfast, we thought it better to stop sooner than later. This was an Electrify America location at a Fred Meyer grocery store, also not far off the highway. The chargers were all newer 350 kilowatt units, and all 6 were working. There were 3 open spots, so we were able to easily pull up, plug in, and get charging right away. Plug and charge worked perfectly, and we quickly hit our peak speed of 150 kilowatts. Slowly ramping up, but we're getting there. 52, 65, 83, 96, 109, 127, 140, 147, 150. That's our peak. 152. The Fred Meyer store had all the amenities you could need and was a nice stretch of the legs. I would give this location an 8 out of 10, only docking a couple of points for having just 6 chargers. After 20 minutes, we were at 81%, so we unplugged and moved on. Side note, for some reason we were never charged for this stop. Maybe I should change that rating to a 9 out of 10. For our next stop, we wanted to get through the Mount Shasta area, so we targeted a Tesla location with 44 chargers in Redding, California, 148 miles away. While it's technically just off the highway, it's a little challenging to get to as it's tucked away behind a hotel, and it isn't clear what the best way to get to the chargers is. There aren't a lot of amenities nearby either, although at least the hotel has restrooms and air conditioning, and once again we had our pick of chargers to plug into. In fact, there were more gas cars icing spots than EVs charging. Once again, plug and charge worked perfectly, and we saw good speeds while charging. This cord is weird. More blue. Come on, there we go. We're charging. Yay! But with the heat approaching 100 degrees, we decided to unplug a little earlier than normal. So after 21 minutes of charging, we hit 73%, unplugged, and moved on. I would rank this location a 6 or 7 out of 10. Everything worked and there were plenty of chargers, but the suboptimal entry and exit and lack of amenities hurt the score. Yeah, that's kind of a pain to remove. Okay. For our next stop, we decided on a Tesla location in Dunnigan, California, 125 miles away. I broke my 12 chargers or more rule with this stop, but for a couple of good reasons. The first being location. Dunnigan is one of the last stops before Sacramento, so not only does a charge here get us enough juice to get the rest of the way in, but it's a great opportunity to get out and have a good stretch right before heading into a highly populated area where traffic is often an issue. And it worked. Being a Sunday meant we didn't have as much traffic as past trips, but the last 2 hours of our drive were much easier after the short break. The second reason why this is a good stop for us is here. Unfortunately, these were not open yet, but before long this 50-plus charger location will be a great place to stop, not just because of the quantity, but these are new version 4 chargers, which have longer cords to accommodate a wider range of EVs. Here, we won't have the taking 2 spots problem. It's just 1 spot for every vehicle charging. We will very much look forward to stopping here on future trips. But for this trip, we just had the 8 stalls to choose from, although plenty were open, and even though we took up 2 spots, we didn't prevent anyone else from charging. There are plenty of amenities at this location, including a convenience store at a gas station, a Starbucks, Taco Bell, Burger King, and more. With just the 8 chargers, I'd rank this stop an 8 out of 10. But once those 50-plus V4s open up, under a canopy no less, I'll give this one a 10 out of 10. The late afternoon temps were still in the 90s, so after 25 minutes of charging, we unplugged at 74% and headed out. Even though the Sunday traffic through Sacramento and Stockton wasn't too bad, we were still very thankful to have the adaptive cruise control, and even Blue Cruise was mostly working to help us get through. We arrived at my brother's house with 29% on the battery, where we charged using his level 2 there. For the trip home, it was just me and Julie, as Mom was staying in Copperopolis for another day before flying home out of Sacramento. A quick glance at a better route planner suggested we could make this trip in just 2 stops, but we didn't want to push it quite that far, so we planned on 3. We left with a full battery, which gave us plenty of options to choose from for our first stop. We selected Williams, California, 145 miles from Copper. Williams has a Tesla location with 12 chargers, as well as an EVgo location with a couple of CCS chargers. We stuck with the Tesla chargers. While Williams is a town with a lot of charm, the location of the chargers is a little tucked away and doesn't have a lot of amenities immediately nearby. We actually stopped at a Starbucks on the way in, as it was a few blocks away, certainly walkable, but we didn't plan on being there for very long and didn't really need the stretch just yet. We pulled up, plugged in, and got charging. As noted earlier, we used the Electron adapter for the trip home. Here's Julie's first time using that.
Ta-da! This one you actually plug that into the car first. There we go. Now when you go to plug that in, there's a trigger on the bottom. There you go. You'll squeeze that to help that go in. There you go. Sounds like it's locked in.
Blue.
Blue. Just like that. That worked a treat.
Yeah, that was easy.
Good. No problem with that?
No, that was easy.
Good.
We arrived with a fairly high 52% on the battery, but still managed to see a 146 kilowatt peak charging speed. We enjoyed our breakfast in the comfortable morning air while charging. After 21 minutes, we were at 83%, so we unplugged and moved on.
Squeeze it. Yeah, squeeze that at the bottom and pull that out.
Okay.
And to me, that's a lot easier than dealing with the actual Ford adapter.
It is, because I don't have the two things in my hand trying to tear it apart.
Right.
That was really easy, and then I just pushed that.
Yeah, and that's a little clumsier.
It kind of fits tightly, so
Yeah.
that's why it's a little bit.
Yeah.
But it works just fine.
Groovy. All right. Thank you.
I'm giving this stop a 7 out of 10. Everything worked, but just a little short on conveniences. For our next stop, we picked Weed, California, 171 miles away. With the higher speeds and gaining elevation, we knew we'd be pushing our range, and sure enough we arrived with just 10% on the battery. But we wanted to try this stop as it was a new Tesla location that had 16 version 4 chargers. As I mentioned earlier, the V4 chargers have longer cords, so we can park normally and don't need to take up 2 spots. And once again, we pulled up, plugged in, and got charging quickly and easily. I can't see the blue, but I think it's... I heard all the noises it's supposed to make. There it goes.
There it goes. There's the blue. Yay.
This location is an easy off and back on to I-5, and getting in and out of this lot is very easy. This little strip has plenty of amenities nearby, including a gas station on either side for restrooms and a snack or drink. And between all the green trees and Mount Shasta in the background, the view is pretty nice as well. There are even a few new chargers for CCS-only cars just down the street. I'm going to give this stop a 10 out of 10. Since we were shooting for just 3 charging stops, that meant each stop would be a little longer, and this one took us 41 minutes to get from 10 to 80%, but that would give us just enough range to get to our third and final stop.
A little better.
For our third and final stop, we were back in Sutherlin, Oregon, 187 miles from Weed. Since we were well into our drive and pretty tired, we decided not to try a different location. We knew this was a great place to stop, and we knew we could make it all the way home from here with another 80% charge. We arrived with 14% on the battery, and to no surprise, we pulled up, plugged in, and got charging right away. All the noises. The white circling stopped. Give us the blue. Ta-da! Charging. Awesome sauce. I should note that we did have to pull up pretty close to the curbing in order to get the cords to reach, but thankfully we just cleared it. Being the late afternoon, we headed over to the Dairy Queen for a little fast food dinner, enjoying the perfect weather. After another 41-minute charge, we unplugged at 82% and headed out. There, that's better. Just a little stiff going in and out, but otherwise, awesome. I like this best, I think. Thank you. From Sutherlin, it's just another 170 miles to home. We ran into a little traffic for a car accident near Cottage Grove, but otherwise it was a smooth drive the rest of the way. And by taking our time, we arrived in the Portland area just after rush hour, so traffic wasn't too bad. At just after 7 p.m., we pulled into our garage with 19% on the battery and plugged in for an overnight charge. So there you have it, our first long-distance road trip with access to the Tesla Supercharger network. Many call it a game changer, and I would have to agree. In any of our past road trips, we've never had a failure, i.e. we've always been able to get where we're going. But for this trip, for the first time in an EV, we had zero stress about finding a place to charge, or whether the chargers will work once we get there, and that makes a world of difference. Did we still plan ahead? Yep. Will we continue to plan ahead on future trips? Yep. And I'll stop short of suggesting you can now make any road trip without planning ahead. For sure, all fast charging networks still need to grow before that can happen. But without a doubt, we can now travel in much more comfort knowing we have more options, and more reliable options to get us where we're going. What a difference. Happy motoring!